Well, welcome back, everyone. You know, Dan Hodges from Johnny Appleseed is in with a bunch of foul language, and he's talking about waterfowl.
It's waterfowl, folks. These are some of my favorite ducks, and you know, it's one of the great times of year. We talked a few weeks ago about some of the early migrating birds of spring, and ducks are some of the earliest. So we'll get waves of migration through the course of the spring, starting kind of with ducks and a few, like we talked about, red-winged blackbirds. But then several more, and then we'll get warblers later on, and the vireos, and they kind of come in April and May. So what we're looking at here is this first kind of wave of migration. So I've got a few ducks here to show you, and it's really it's just a cool thing because there's so much diversity. You think, oh, you see a bunch of ducks on a pond, you say there's ducks on a pond, and a lot of times, you know, in the summertime we got a bunch of mallards, and they are very friendly, and they come to our park ponds. So you might see a bunch of mallards, but here in the spring, it's likely a really host of diverse ducks that are coming out to visit us. So I've got a few of them here. This is a blue-winged teal. Look at the blue color. Isn't that really just a beautiful thing? This is called a green-winged teal, a little green in the wings, a little small. It's like a little bath toy almost. Just the cutest little thing. I love the hooded merganser, and look at that big crest of feathers. He'll fold this down when he's just hanging out, and then he'll puff it up when he wants to impress the ladies.
I've never seen one of those.
It's a really neat duck. We've had them on our pond. It's great. Hooded merganser, and then these two, actually both of them on this side are wood ducks, one being the male, that's the flying one, and then this one right here, this is the female, and so a lot of people get confused because they think, oh, it must be a different duck. Well, a lot of times the female is a little more drab in coloration. That's because they're smarter and they're going to hide on the nest and they don't want to get eaten, whereas the male, and if you look at this male wood duck, he is, well, this mount is a little older, but they're probably the most beautiful bird in the world. One of my certainly favorite. Yeah, and the colors, green and red and purple and orange, just striking. That's because he's trying to show off, so he's not as smart as the ladies. But this is stopover habitat here in Ohio. They're migrating. Many of these birds, a few of them will stick around, but many of these birds are going to breed up in Canada, up further north, and so they're stopping here in Ohio, and we got a chance to see them.
So if we want to see ducks like this in Ohio, where should we check those out?
Oh, almost anything that stays wet long enough. So a flooded farmer's field is often a really good place to see ducks. But certainly your ponds, if you got a pond, keep an eye out and don't just say, oh, I've got ducks on the pond. Look at those closely. There's some really neat animals. And then certainly our reservoirs, you know, Schoonover and Lima Lakes. We're actually going to take a trip to one of the best sort of waterfowl locations in the area called Killdeer Plains. It's a little to the east of us in Wyandotte County, but the ducks there are incredible. So we're going to take a trip this Saturday. If you want to learn more, visit us online at jampd.com. Hopefully you can come out and join us to spend the morning or even into the afternoon, as long as you want, looking at these waterfowl. There's dozens of different types. Really a cool thing to try to parse through, and because it's early spring and there's really only ducks, we're only going to be, you know, we might get to 50 species on Saturday, but you can handle 50 species. Yeah, it's not too bad. We can do it together.
I think these are so interesting. This one's my favorite right now because I don't think I've ever seen that.
The hooded merganser is one of my all-time favorites, and it's one that you can see right here in Allen County, and certainly we'll see it on Saturday too.
All right, we'll have to keep an eye out. Well, Dan, thanks so much for coming out and just talking about these beautiful birds.
I love it. I'm glad to be here, and you got to get outside and see these animals. There's so much diversity. It's great. Let's go outside.
That's right. All right, well, don't go away because we have more when we return.